All right, I promise not to focus on the dog.
Oh, it's recording voice right now.
That's okay. You can hear us. We're starting. Did you drop some alcohol?
What?
Did you drop alcohol?
No. Why?
It smells like rubbing alcohol.
No?
No?
Not that I know of. Does that look focused over there?
Yes, it does.
I focused it and turned off the auto so it would stay focused on the actual image area.
Okay. Is the auto on though?
No, not the autofocus.
Oh, I'm sorry. Autofocus.
The audio is on.
Gotcha.
And I have coffee.
Yeah, coffee. This is not the right angle yet. $9:15. I'm pretty good.
Yeah? Is it going?
It is.
Cool.
Telling everyone that we're
here.
here. Hello, everybody's waking and saying hi.
Oh, hello. I started this.
Saturday,
Actually,
February 2nd?
yep.
Yes.
I recorded the actual beginning of this on the other
On the
video.
other one? Okay.
Yeah. So, not that there was a whole lot before this, but
Right. I don't know. It kind of looks like a lot. Good evening.
oh, we just got a nice notification from Lightbox that says, great.
Oh,
So we can tell everybody we'll be at Lightbox in, what is it, September?
Lightbox Expo. Yes,
Yeah,
6th, 7th, and 8th. What are you working on?
This is mostly, it's kind of like a variation of that, of the Gaunt figures that I've done before. I kind of have this whole thing where, after, reading the, what was it, Dream Quest in Kadath, the Lovecraftian thing, they described these characters called night gaunts, which are basically these thin winged creatures. And I thought, it'd be kind of interesting that there would be a whole hierarchy of those particular types of creatures that, ran the gamut from being the winged gaunts, which were the kind of the foot soldier guys,
Right.
up to the different, I've done a few of them in the past, different ones. I've done gaunt princes and gaunt, queens and things like that. But they're essentially humanoid creatures that only loosely conform to human shape. And they kind of live in the nightmare part of the dreamscape.
In the same vein as the other winged vampire guy?
It kind of,
Yeah.
the winged
Only
vampire
more.
guy was more fun, and the narrative with that was that I kind of wanted this thing that had, with the Amun Ur was his name, the thing you posted recently, that he was a vampire that, one of the, if not the original vampire, one of the originals that had basically grown so powerful that he didn't feed anymore. He would just live in an area and slowly, like, drain energy from everything around him, but not, without killing anything in particular, because he just became so powerful that that's what he could do. So therefore, he became less of an evil character, but still kind of horrifying to look at, I guess you could say, but less intent on destroying like people, But because I mean, in the end, what's interesting to me in a lot of the stories that I see are, there's all these, evil characters and evil creatures, but it's that the motivation isn't usually written about, because, just doing evil for evil's sake, that's not really, to me, that's just, a kind of a form of insanity, because there's really no point to it. Like, that whole, there's a comedian who does a routine about that, about, talking to, like, I feel like it's Darth Vader or somebody, and like trying to, okay, what's the deal? What are you trying to do?
Right.
I want to rule the universe. Well, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah, once you get it.
Yeah, rule it. Yeah, but then what?
Right.
Does it just become you sitting on a throne watching people do stuff? Or,
Right.
Okay, so you've got all the power. What are you going to do with it? But
We've often talked about that.
yeah, well, I mean,
like
and I think part of the
being-
problem is that with good people, it does kind of appear insane. That when people do like, or when there are evil characters in a movie, the only way sometimes you can justify it is either they're insane or it's a contextual evil, like you're on the wrong side,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So, but anyway, that's the kind of stuff I think about a lot when I work. So, you know.
Tony Star 55 is from Russia. He's
Oh,
waving
cool.
at you.
Hello, Russia. That's awesome. So, wasn't your mother just in Russia recently? Or was she? Where
No,
did she go?
She went to Prague.
Oh, she went to Prague. I thought, I have a hard time keeping up with where your mother goes.
Yeah, she's, because she can go.
She travels a lot.
Yeah. Brazil says hello.
Oh, hello, Brazil. I love hearing from different people in different places. That's amazing. So yeah, this is probably just another kind of a version of, you know, one of the gaunt forms. I don't know exactly what yet. When I get through with it, when I get to the end, closer to the end of it, the narrative will have assembled itself in my head.
Do you see these creatures in your dreams?
You know, I actually, my dreams are fairly mundane, and I think probably it's because I see them when I'm awake. In terms of in my visual field, I mean, I don't mean like it's standing in front of me sometimes. But no, because I think that my dreams are pretty much like most people's dreams. I tend to remember them, I guess, more than most people do. I have in the past dreamt of fighting demons. You know, even when I was younger, I would somehow end up with a sword, and I would be in a situation where I was at first terrified, and then it became this thing. And I kind of wrote a little narrative about this one time, that I would always get to a point in the dream where my fear would break. I would get to a point where I couldn't get more afraid, and then the fear would sort of switch off. It would turn into something else, and I would start fighting.
Yeah.
And for the longest time in my dreams, I would fight demons, and I would always win.
You have a 6B?
This is a 6B, yeah.
6B pencil.
And,
Hello from Canada and Peru.
Oh, hello. That's awesome. Canada and Peru.
It said I see a fusion between a shark and an octopus.
Possibly. What's funny is I rarely do anything with actual tentacles on them, and not because I don't like it, but because there's so many people doing a lot of awesome tentacle art out there that, unless I'm kind of driven to do it or have compelling reason to do it, I don't bring tentacles into the work that I do very often.
Do me
Now,
not tentacle.
I did have a period of time when I worked on monster trucks where I got to do tentacles for like a month.
Yeah.
And beaks,
Beaks.
octopus beaks, because
Beaks and tentacles.
But that was back when
we
Monster
on-
Trucks was still going to be monsters instead of the cartoon kind of thing it is.
So are you still on the Strathmore 400 series drawing paper?
Yeah, I feel like, especially for these the live streams, that I kind of want to work on a paper that is easier for most people to get a hold of if they just want to try it. But any paper that you have, you can find the texture. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it.
Are we going to do one on typewriter paper?
I'm going to do it on like typing paper one time. Maybe
with
the
a
next
regular
time.
B pencil?
With a school type, like a Mongol number 2 or whatever,
Ticonderoga.
or a Ticonderoga. Yeah.
Yes, that's what they like for everybody to buy now.
Because the thing is it you can do it. You can it's learning how to manipulate the limitations of the tool. It doesn't necessarily have any much. The reason I like Tombow Mono 100s is because I like how black they get. But if they couldn't get this black, if it weren't available, I would
just work.
I would work with because for a long time it was Faber-Castell, the regular Faber-Castell pencils, which are pretty easy to come by too.
Jonathan from Mexico City says hi.
Oh, hello. That's awesome.
And then another one from Panama City.
Cool.
No, Pan Am City.
Pan Am?
Yes.
Where's
in
that?
Australia.
In Australia? Cool.
No, this is a different person
What?
from
Oh,
Australia.
okay. You're confusing.
They're all away.
Uh,
Would love to see you do digital art and see if your style comes through.
I can do that at some point. I was doing some illustration here just today that was working in digital. I can't show it because it's NDA,
Yeah.
but I can do something, a personal piece in digital format.
Digital format.
Which reminds me, mention that I just picked up those. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Grut, Grut, Grut brushes, but I have the big pack of all the brushes they make, which are all these kind of very close to natural media brushes.
Is this for digital? This is
For digital.
digital brushes. and
Digital
it's
brushes.
Grut, Grut.
Grut.
Okay.
If you Google Grut brush, it'll come up. He also has these smart papers that are like working on natural media that look great. I started playing with those today too. So, but we'll throw up a link or something to it.
Gotcha.
But so
Yeah, we'd have to have a more light over there if I was going to show what you're doing digitally.
yeah, well, we can't show that anyway, right now.
Well, not that.
Yeah.
No, not that.
But we'd have to. We could film it on one hand, but then we could also record it, screen grab it on the other.
Right.
You can use something like Camtasia, I guess, for that. There's some freeware out there for that too.
Chris Malador says hi.
Chris, how are you doing?
He's another artist. You can find
Does
him
some
at
great work.
C Malador on Instagram here.
Yeah.
Let's see. You go straight for the soft graphite. No sneaking up with a hard pencil. No.
No, I've used, for the 90% of the drawing, I'll probably use a 6B.
Yes.
Because, honestly, I can make a light enough, mark with the 6B that it doesn't really, for the amount that I do it, it doesn't really
I don't know
make
that
much.
they can see that.
That's what I'm saying. I can make it's a 6B, but I can make a light, I can make a mark you can barely see, as a guideline. And sometimes, like I started this doing just that with these light
Right.
marks. What I like about doing it that way too is that I don't erase a lot while I'm doing it, and I'll let those stray
Lines.
marks enter into the
Come through.
into the design.
All right. Ready? Question. What was the most expensive tool that you have used, if it's not a secret? Your Cintiq?
Probably this, for digital stuff, the Cintiq, because when I bought it, when I first bought it, it was 21UX, I think it was.
It was
They were
the first ones that came
Yeah,
out.
they were close to $3,000, and that's the most expensive single tool, other than saying like a computer, because I bought a box machine, BOXX, which they're used a lot for 3D graphics and kind of render farm stuff, and that was like a 5K computer when I bought it, but it lasted for like 10 years.
Yeah. It was
Because
a long
because I
time.
bought it when I bought it, it was like one of the first processors out there that had multi-threading and multiple cores, and it took 2 or 3 years for the software to catch up to it,
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
because there was things that wouldn't run on it right away.
Right. You're right. You're like, oh, great.
And so it was like I called it positioning myself, and it wasn't something I got I guess you could say a gift of money from a relative that I put it into my business equipment basically. Not and if I hadn't gotten that gift at the time, I probably would never have known what a box was.
Right.
But
Have you-
people will go for less expensive machines, and it's true. There are lots out there that are less expensive. One of the things I will tell you about box though was that for 3 or 4 years that and I know I only had a warranty for like 2 years, but for 3 or 4 years when I was working with them, anything that went wrong, like I had a graphics card go out, like I think it maybe about 2 weeks after the warranty, they overnighted me a brand new graphics card that was a contemporary version of the one that I had, an
Yeah,
even
they
better
were
one.
really good. They
Yeah.
had good customer service.
Yeah, that was part of what you pay for with box though.
Shadowgrass asks, ever tried Stonehenge Yupo paper? It's a plastic paper for alcohol markers.
I have some big sheets of that for the Yupo paper.
Someone was using it at One Fantastic Workshop.
Vanessa uses it a lot.
Oh, Vanessa,
and,
that's right.
and so does Sam when he does
Sam
some,
Murray?
I think he does
Yeah.
sketches on it with oil, and that's what I wanted to do was play with the oil and some Gamsol and thinner,
Oh, man.
because you can it's
So he has not yet played
I
with
haven't
it,
used it yet though. I actually
but I can't throw it away because eventually it'll come out.
Right.
I will use it.
yeah, and I got some pretty big sheets of it over there too.
Hello from Colombia and Malaysia and Thailand and Indonesia.
Oh, wow.
Everybody's awake.
That's cool. Well, we missed last week because it was just one of those weeks where we were involved in stuff, and
Family stuff, I think.
yeah,
And the kids are playing
Super Smash Brothers.
Super
right
Smash Brothers, so
On the
hopefully you can't
Switch.
see them or hear them. Do you ever draw plants, and do you approach it the same way as creatures if you do?
I will. I haven't done it in a while, but I actually love to draw, like make up tree shapes, and I'll do that. Uh, I think Vicky posted a piece recently on Instagram that was Holly and the Death of Trees. That was basically a tree shape kind of merged with a skeletal shape. And I actually have some plans for some more of that because I have some sketches that are in a drawer
Right.
over there where I've got such drawings planned. But I approach them the same way.
Yeah.
If that's what you're asking, it's
Right.
very. I try to.
Well, it's because you have to make sure you stay random
Yeah.
when you work
Right.
with trees, right?
Yeah, and it's what's weird is it's like it has for me it has to I have to kind of turn my brain off and just follow, you know, I don't know, just let my hand, it's almost like automatic writing. I have to turn my brain off and just follow my hand and let it do what it needs to do. Because the more I think about it, the more patterns start to emerge that don't look natural,
Right.
you know?
People from South Carolina and
Cool.
New Jersey and Maryland.
I
Say
have,
hello.
I have not lived in Maryland, but I've lived in North and South Carolina before,
Oh,
a long time ago.
that was before me.
Yeah, well, most of that. After, I only got stable after we met.
Late joining, but do you do sketches before starting one of your full renderings?
Uh,
Not always.
it depends. I sometimes do, sometimes don't. What I will do sometimes is if I'm working on contract work and then I want to do something for myself, I'll do what I call a warm-up piece, but, and I don't, people sometimes get the idea that a warm-up piece for me is I'm just casually throwing something out there, but I don't really, it's misleading to think that because I actually will spend a lot of time on a warm-up piece getting my mind into it. The only thing that makes it a warm-up is that I have no attachment to it in terms of what it's going to turn into.
Right.
So
Whether it'll be a
I'll
fully
let my
rendered
mind
or
get into that frame of mind of finding an idea and following it rather than having to work on a more formal idea for contract work.
what was the inspiration for the sin hook drawing?
Again, that's one of the pieces that I did recently where I sort of sat down and I started working on an essentially humanoid shape and kind of let it grow out from a certain point. For me, inspiration happens in a combination of drawing and narrative, and I didn't really know what the drawing meant until I got most of the way done with it, and then I realized that it's sort of like a metaphor of this thing that latches on to the wretchedness in a person and on an ethereal level, resides kind of hooked into them in a way, or the inspiration. There was no real direct inspiration for it. It was more of what I'm doing now, where I started in a place and let myself follow out and play with rhythms and shapes until something started. I guess the best way
Connecting.
is connecting with me and speaking a visual language to me that I can see.
Someone says this looks like the heptad from the film Arrival.
You know what?
Heptapod, sorry,
There's a
heptapod.
funny story about that. I almost got to work on that, but
God,
but when
that's
they
right.
called us to work on it,
You were working on something
I
else,
was working
right?
on something else at the time,
Yeah, that's right.
and I think that Peter worked on it. A friend of ours, Peter Koenig, I think worked on it as well as who
I
else?
don't remember now.
There was a few people that
They're
worked
all
on it
mashed
today.
together.
Yeah, but I almost did get. I love that. Actually loved those creatures too.
Yeah, they're
And
cool.
so
Would you ever consider making an environment for your creations?
I have actually started thinking about that lately because that's something that I haven't done in a while, purposefully, and I think that it would be a good thing to do, like to start putting them in particular places. But here's the thing: I think when I look at most of the things that I do, I know that people see them as sort of like fantasy or fantastic type creatures, but I see a lot of these things as kind of spiritual metaphor that would exist in almost a real world environment. Like I was talking to one of the gallery owners about doing one of the imperfections, but he's the guy in the hood with the but he's actually in just a normal street alley, in that kind of way. I haven't done it yet though. But
Jake Peck says greetings from Colombia.
Jake is in Colombia.
Jake
Yeah, I saw
Peck
him.
art.
Yeah, you travel a lot, Jake.
I know. Alan's like, he's in Colombia
That's
now,
I think that's
having
awesome.
coffee in Colombia.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, it is awesome.
Yeah.
Jody Fallon Art says hello.
Hey, Jody.
Says loves it.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Jody's been doing some good stuff. If you ever go to the IluxCon or IX, Jody also does
Jake's at
some really cool
DeluxeCon
stuff.
too.
Yeah, and Jake has some. You should check out Jake Peck's work too, because he has some really compelling design and creature.
It's under Jake Peck Art, and then
Yeah.
there's Jody Fallon Art too.
Yep. Yep.
Someone else. How do you? Greetings from Costa Rica.
Hello.
How do you care for your joints, and do you stretch before drawing?
So I got this the thing that's kind of like a Fitbit that tells me to get up every half hour and do like a torso twist, which I ignore it a lot. But one of the things that helps.
I think they're talking about your hands.
I know. I'm getting to that. One of the
Okay.
things that helps with the joint thing is I use so many different tools that I'm constantly changing my grip on things, because like these things feel different than say I have a
Going
lot
under
of
this
different
one.
I have a lot of different kinds of pencil extenders and different shapes of tools. So I feel like I'm changing my grip a lot, you know. Plus, I don't know if you noticed or not, but in one hand I'll always have a kneaded eraser, you know, going, and I think that helps too, because I'll switch hands with it when I use it, and I'll just do that a lot. Otherwise, I haven't had an issue with like repetitive stress or carpal tunnel.
Years and years and years ago.
When I work on
when
I work on a computer and I'm laying on the edge of a desk like this, my hand will go numb, but that's normal because you're actually cutting off the circulation to your hand, you know. But otherwise, I don't have a problem with repetitive stress. At least I haven't yet, you know. And I think it's because and plus I'll change the angle that I work at a lot, you know, because I'll
you
move over
hold
on
the
this.
pencil differently too,
Oh yeah, definitely.
in your giant fat.
Because I'll do like, you know, detail and kind of a stippling, kind of like this sometimes, and then I'll switch to the side of the pencil, which you've seen me already do here today a couple of times. And that helps. I think changing your grip a lot helps, and it just becomes a habit if you do it enough.
That, and you also, I know this because you said this when we lift weights and when we do, you know, punches.
Yeah,
You have to be relaxed.
right.
Like, so your hand is actually very relaxed.
Right. Yeah, because I don't. Because that's one of the things that sometimes you forget, because if you do certain things, it becomes intuitive. And you know, we've done martial arts, you know, since forever. And doing that, one of the things that you realize is that you don't have to be clenched all the time. You know, and I actually really am holding. I actually sometimes will drop my pencil when I'm working because I'm holding it so loosely. Because I don't bear down very hard on any of this stuff. When I go in here, like if I want to make this area like here, if I want to make that get even and dark, I'll switch the grip and just start
Putting the tiny
just
dots in.
touching the little white parts of the paper. It's almost like it's like a stipple kind of thing, pointillism.
You can't even see
until
it on the other one. Like,
yeah. Well, there's some things you won't be able to see. But
hello from the Sultanate of Oman.
oh, that's cool. I don't know what that is, but that's awesome. It sounds
Probably
awesome.
where it is.
It sounds like it would be.
Jake says you have good thumb knuckles.
Oh, thanks. You know what? I think I would be a good hand actor. I have, yeah. You know, I
Like a
like
fist.
because I know, you know, wrinkles.
You have giant knuckles in your
Yeah, well, that
That's
right
from
there
punching
is
a
from punching a
makawara.
makawara for 10 years. You know, that's because you know, you train yourself to focus on these two knuckles, and these two are pulled back all the time. So you know, obviously, if you've ever watched Karate Kid, you put all your force into the,
Yes.
you know, 1.5 inches.
Yes.
So
I think of your dark swirled graphite backgrounds as a kind of netherworld, and I like that idea, although that's just her interpretation.
no, that's I like the idea too. In fact, that's why I've been sitting on this one, because we did this one for one of our live feeds, but I liked it so much that I wanted to sit on it for a while and see what I was going to make
The
out of
one
it.
on the 12th, I think.
Yeah. And so this has been on my desk when I work on other things, and I'll glance over at it
Like
and
this
start to see different things. Well, at one point I actually saw like a winged horse here at one point, which would be kind of interesting to do in a dark style. You know, not that it hasn't been done, but you know, with this particular type of pattern. You know, there's a lot of stuff in here that I saw. I doubt very much that I'll do a winged horse, but I did see that there at one point. So anyway, it's a Rorschach. Like I said, most of the ways when you talk about inspiration, especially the way that I do it, I can't be more accurate when I say that for me it's almost like working until I have a Rorschach kind of a thing going.
Whoops, you got a little smudge.
Ah,
Someone just asked if there was any smudging.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Oh yes, remember to pull it up first.
So for me anyway, the kneaded erasers work best when you do this,
Dab
and then you dab it like that, and it pulls it out. And then once you dab up as much as you can get, then you go back and hit it like this, and it's gone. So
it can come off a little bit.
See, oh, now I rubbed it back on. But see, I do that all the time, so it doesn't matter. I usually try to get my drawings to a point where I've covered most of the paper in graphite. Therefore, any light smudges disappear
You
anyway.
don't, yeah.
So
Hello from New Zealand and
want to go to New Zealand.
Portugal.
Want to go to
Ecuador.
I want to go to all those places. So
I mean, your creatures must be living in the upside down world from Stranger Things.
oh yeah, well, I do relate. I do relate to the upside down. You know, it's like
What the eraser is a kneaded eraser.
oh yeah.
Comes in a little square and he just mashes it into.
These are just the Prismacolor
$2,
kneaded erasers.
what are they, $2 or
Yeah,
something?
I buy a box of them, and you can.
That is.
I keep them.
Nope,
You know.
nope, nope, nope.
Oh, I can see it. I keep them. This is old. You know.
There's what
this
is
is
that?
this is string. This is a little head.
You have the head, a string.
So I have steel wool, one of those regular white foam erasers that you can get, and then the kneaded erasers in various degrees of degradation. Some of them, you know, are fresher than others, and then I have another whole box of brand new kneaded erasers over there.
Yes.
So, and
That's kind of gross.
yeah, well,
You never know. They've probably gone through the wash a couple times.
sometimes they do. I mean, they still work, you know. The only time they don't really work is once they've fallen on the ground and they have little pebbles in them, and then it takes a long time to clean them out.
Yeah,
But,
then you just get another one. What do you finish it with? A workable fixative? Fixative?
for something on paper like this,
Yes.
yeah, definitely a workable fixative.
What are they? What is the brand name? I can't remember.
Krylon makes a workable fix. 3M.
Blair?
No, yeah, Blair makes one. I think Winsor Newton makes a workable fixative. There's all kinds.
Yeah. It's a spray.
I haven't really paid much attention as to whether or not there's a difference because most of them seem to work pretty much the same way. The only difference, though, being is that if I'm working on a smooth board, like the clay board, I'll probably end up putting a gloss spray fixative over it so that it because I like the
acrylic-
shine because it looks
clear
like those
acrylic
old
spray,
it looks
yeah.
like those old aluminum photographs, you know.
Well, that and if you put the clear acrylic spray,
if you
it will darken.
it makes the darks a bit darker. Whereas if you do on that kind of a surface, if you put the matte on it, you'll lose most of what you see there.
Right.
Whereas if I'm working on a matte paper like this, and papers tend to actually come across, then if you look at it from the side, you get the gloss from the graphite, and that's distracting to sometimes for the image. And that I'll use sometimes a matte fixative.
Right.
Which my matte fixative is just Liquitex Ultra Matte Medium mixed with a little bit of water and sprayed on with an airbrush.
Yes.
But it works exactly the same way. It's just that, like, if I'm doing a paper with this thin of a paper, then I want to spray it on lightly and do it in a few little
Barely,
coats.
yeah.
If I'm working on a thicker paper, sometimes I'll fix the drawing first with a regular fixative and then brush on the matte medium so that it'll actually give a little bit of
Always.
line texture to it. So
Always.
Yeah.
Try it on a smaller piece
And,
before
yeah.
you do it on a big piece.
you definitely
People will email and ask, and I say,
test it first.
test it first, please.
Always test it first.
Always test. Don't test it on the big.
Yeah.
Because believe me, there's now. The first time you use
The first time I did that process was essentially on that gin piece that I did.
But you had started working with it again on the ampersand, and you had that great the profile of the girl, and
Yeah.
all of the background was graphite.
When I put the matte medium on
and you
it,
put the matte medium
all
on it,
disappeared.
and it all disappeared, and then you go,
and then
fuck it, I might as well try the clear.
And then
clear.
what I did was she's exactly right. I put the matte medium on and everything disappeared.
It fucked it up.
And then I went back and I was like, well, let's see what happens if I put the gloss medium on top of the matte medium. and then it all came back.
And it
Yeah.
darkened the darks too.
Yeah, it all came back. It was pretty funny that way.
Can you draw over the fixatives? I've never used any. Yes.
Regular spray fixative you can draw over, but you can't erase very well over that. Like if you have a spot that you want to erase at that point, you might be able to move a little bit with an abrasive eraser, like one of these things. You might be able to move it with. That's a white pencil. But you know what I mean.
You mean the typewriter erasers?
Yeah, like these Faber-Castell Perfection ones.
All right, I have to let the dog out. I'm sorry.
Or this is happening again.
No, just we'll see.
But so
I'm gonna try not to have it happen.
these are the white ones. The pink ones I shy away from because they sometimes will leave a pink stain on the paper a little bit. But the white ones, what is this? The 7058B Perfection.
758.
These work pretty good. And then there's also the antique white ones you can get on.
That's a
on eBay.
Faber-Castell Perfection
Yeah.
7058.
Yeah. And after you spray fix something, sometimes you can move things around a little bit, but you got to also test it because you can cause a burnout in your piece, like a little rub through some. You just have to be very careful with it. These work great on the clay board though.
But paper you got to be gentle with.
Yeah.
Okay. We've been here for half an hour.
Really?
Yes.
Cool.
So you can visit our website at AllenWilliamsStudio.com. You can visit our YouTube channel, visit Allen Williams Studio. Our Facebook page is just Allen Williams Art.
Oh, I switched to a different pencil, but it's still a 6B.
Oh, but you have a different handle on it, see?
I do, yeah.
So it's fatter. And then our Patreon, we have our Patreon if you want to jump over there. These will stay up under the stories and then they'll go up to Patreon.
And you can find a lot of these collected there.
Yes, or on YouTube if you, or you can just follow us on Patreon, which is at patreon.com/Allen Williams. They said thank you for the answers.
Oh, yeah.
And if somebody is drawing or writing in a different language, it's probably 5 a.m. where they are. We should do this at a different time.
Yeah. Well,
not all the time, but like next week we should
I wonder we should do a poll about what would be the best time that most people could get could watch.
Okay. Or we can just pick a different time.
Or we could just pick a different time and do it and do multiple different times and different times.
Can't get too late because I pretty much am like gone by about 11 or 12 o'clock at night.
Right.
Unless you want to do it without me.
Never.
Your matte medium technique reminds me of what I learned from James Gurney's books.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
That's cool. James Gurney, the Gurney Journey blog that he does is probably the most valuable free site in the world.
All right. Gurney Journey, yeah.
Gurney Journey, yeah.
It's GURN.
He has a little bit of everything on there and is very free with knowledge and very open about sharing everything. So if you ever get a chance, I mean, he was at the Illustrators Masterclass that I was at a few years back, and he's just a fun person to be around when they're working. He's just one of those people that has ingrained it into his life to a degree that it's for him, waking up and working is the same thing as waking up and eating breakfast. So
not like anybody I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing.
What do you do for fun?
This.
That we had a good game at Uno earlier.
We did. We played. I don't generally play a lot of different games, although lately I was sort of addicted to Borderlands 2, which I was playing a lot. But
I said thank you. They've never even used abrasive erasers, so
yeah. And also remember that abrasive erasers can chew through paper very quickly. They're really good on harder papers, though, and harder substances, harder surfaces.
We were talking about James Gurney.
Yeah.
He does a blog called
Gurney Journey.
Gurney Journey.
If you just Google Gurney Journey, it'll probably be the top 50 entries.
Yeah.
But he's got so much on there.
Goes out and just like paints wherever. And he painted you at IMC.
He did.
One time.
He wouldn't sell it. Remember, because it was
I
like
wanted it.
he painted a portrait of me painting a piece that I was working on at IMC, which I thought was fun. And then there were people behind him photographing him painting me painting a piece.
Yes.
So it was like this
Very
multiple
funny.
tiered
Weird
thing going on. But he's just a very knowledgeable human being. And
I say I'm amazed by your draftsmanship.
oh well, thank you very much. I've had to spend a lot of time, I guess, in the course of learning how to do stuff, getting away from wanting everything to look smooth all the time, and I had to get to a point where I just completely fell in love with texture, which is this kind of drawing is the opposite of what I used to do when I first got into it. I would usually use super hard leads and try to render everything so smooth you couldn't tell it was done with pencil.
Yeah.
And of course, that for the most part resulted in kind of boring drawings because when everything looks the same level of smooth, it's not. First
Right.
off, it's not very realistic because there aren't very many smooth things in the world when you really look at them. Even human skin is very modeled and very textured, and so. But when I first started, really what I looked at a lot, and I kind of taught myself quite a bit, and which means I made a lot of really interesting mistakes. Was I looked at a lot of airbrush magazines and stuff when I was younger because I thought at first that was what I wanted to do, but I found out that I didn't find my way as well with an airbrush as I did doing the kind of stuff I'm doing now. There's some people out there though. Like I said, I always point whenever I say something about something that I don't use. I want to point out that there are people that make it work.
Yeah, I remember it.
You
Yeah,
know,
because
uh,
you have to find what works for you. Doesn't
right.
matter what other people
I was once told
use.
by a friend that he didn't like pointillism because he said it's just not a professional technique, and I was like, aha, wait a minute, that's not right.
Nope,
And then I proceeded to find people and produce work that to prove that wrong, because not intentionally to prove it wrong, but I sort of thought that was the wrong way to look at any technique. You can take any technique to a higher degree of polish or understanding. There's a lot of things that, like when I paint, that I do that people associate with craft, because I'll use certain sponges and things that people use for scrapbooking and things like that, but I use them in a different way, and you can take anything to whatever level you want it. There's always a higher level to take it to,
Right.
or let's say a different level, because I think a lot of times people don't necessarily, their goal is not to take it to that level. They want to use it as a craft, and that's cool too. But pretty much every technique out there that people disregard, somebody makes it work beautifully somewhere, So I don't know. That was my rant.
Yeah, I don't think that was a rant.
Yeah. It's we were having a similar discussion about dealing with people that are rude online earlier, and you definitely have to deal with people who say negative things to you in the way that suits you. But for me, I don't necessarily pay much attention to people who think that they can insult me and then tell me that it's better for my character, that I should be able to take it. Because, I mean, to be honest, I grew up in an environment where I was told on a daily basis that I would never be able to do this for a living by the people that I lived with, my parents. And so, you don't know what people have to go through to get to where they are. And so
Right.
just being insulting or rude to somebody online, and then saying, it's character building,
Yeah, it's a
it's
load of
kind of,
bullshit.
yeah, it's really not anyone's place to do
Would
that.
you say
So,
that to your grandmother and to her face? And
right.
if you wouldn't, then
Yeah.
maybe you should rethink what you're typing,
Yeah,
right?
and
Why don't you
I'm
just be
I'm actually
kind?
the reason this came up was because I'm not a very fragile person. I mean, I've had some people say some pretty heinous crap to me before, and I'll just go, yeah, well, okay, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing, or move on. But we were
I
talking
usually
about
get
the fact
pissed.
that some people, Vicky gets more protective than I do. I'll have people come up to me and tell me that I'm spiritually evil because I draw these things, and I'll go, oh yeah, why do you think that? And Vicky's just like, I can't believe you're talking to them. And I'm like, well, usually if I talk to them for 10 minutes, then I can A, understand that they're going to think that no matter what, or B, I can convince them that they're wrong.
Right.
Because to be honest, I get lumped with dark art quite a bit, which I don't have a problem with, because here's the thing: dark art originated in religious art. I mean, if you think about it, Hieronymus Bosch, and how many of those old churches that you go to don't have demons or gargoyles lining the outside walls? I
Yeah,
mean, that's all
exactly.
dark art. You know what I mean? It's all there to, like, Vague did a sculpt recently where he used an upside down cross, and I had to point out to people that they were saying that it was satanic. I was like, no, well, that's a recent
No,
development. I
it's
said
Peter's
it was
cross
St. Peter's cross. It was the Petrine cross.
because he was crucified that
Right.
way.
And if you look at the posture of Vague's piece, it's in a posture of contrition, right? So the use of the Petrine cross in that particular instance was that the character felt themselves so unworthy that they used the cross like that. And that's exactly what happened with the story of Peter. don't get the idea that I'm super religious. I just like to read. I like to read all these things. I like to understand where symbols come from and what they mean.
I think you're super spiritual though.
I am very, yeah, yeah, because I do believe, I do find myself to be
You have beliefs.
on a kind of a mystic level, I guess you could say.
It's okay.
Yeah, a spiritual. Yeah,
People are. Can I read some?
yeah.
Everyone has a different talent. I love seeing all the people's talent. And well, you guys are. I mean, I think I've had one person be rude ever when we've ever been live
Oh, here
meeting.
on this?
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
only ever
no.
blocked one person.
It doesn't happen very often.
No. Well, I mean, I haven't had it.
Yeah.
They're just because everybody's been so sweet and nice.
I think in general that the people they've always treated it like that. But see, one of the points we made was that when I kind of grew up in this industry, we were going to shows physically,
Right.
And people would walk up and say,
This is
rude-
pre-internet.
pre-internet, they would walk up and say rude stuff to your face,
Right.
and half the time they didn't even realize what they were saying was rude,
Yes, they'd say something and I have to look at them.
because they're not used. Most of
Just
the
look at
yeah.
them and be like, oh,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Well, and to be honest, most of them didn't even realize they were talking to the person who made the work,
Yeah.
because it was hard for them to believe that I've run into people before that they said, "Are you the artist?" And I told them that I was, and they didn't believe me at first because it was such a foreign idea for them to meet somebody who produces work that does the drawing and
Right.
painting.
Yes.
I had a guy that once almost got mad at me because I told him I made a living doing this, and he was like, "No, you don't. You just do this so you can get girls." And I'm like, "Yeah, this gets girls." Me sitting around drawing, looking at the head of a pencil for 8 hours a day is gonna just, I'm just gonna be, they're gonna be lining up, right? And that, well, okay. But the thing was, is that the thing was though, is that he was saying that
Yeah. That was the only reason.
yeah,
It's like,
but
eh.
it was just kind of funny.
Maybe initially. No, I'm teasing. Hello from Japan.
Oh, hello, Japan.
Thank you for live streaming. Please
Oh,
keep it going.
I will.
Your work is always inspiring.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. The thing is that the best way to I once read that the best way to get another artist to work is not to browbeat them, but to try to inspire them. And if I can help other people, want to pick up a pencil and start drawing, or just even do the work that they already are doing, but have more fun with it, that's worth more than coin. That's worth more than gold. So. Not worth more than coffee, though. I need coffee. I'm just kidding.
You need to have your coffee. To get to your level is a life's work, and any artist should understand that journey. Character building is giving input and then how to make it better, and not everyone is qualified to do that.
This is true.
That is true.
And also,
People sometimes just don't think what they write online, and then you go, that's not nice.
It's funny because I was thinking about this earlier, and it sort of relates. I've been around people, professional artists, who both say that there's talent is sort of a myth and it can be taught, and other people who say if you don't have it, you can't learn it. And I find the two differences between those two people are one thing. One is a teacher and the other isn't. The ones who are teachers that say talent can be taught, I've seen them teach it. And the people who say that talent can't be taught, that they can't learn this kind of stuff, from someone else, they're not really teachers to begin with most of the time. I've rarely ever run across a teacher that will say, well, I teach it, but nobody really can get it. Otherwise you're just being dishonest, right?
Right.
I feel like that the technique of drawing and painting is something that you can teach. I can't teach you what to draw and paint. I can't teach you what your aesthetic is going to be, because that has to come. The whole value of all this is to find that in yourself.
Right.
But I could show people, the physical aspect of drawing, because what I'm doing here is very little. There's very little different than what everybody else does when they draw. I'm just putting it together in a way. The decision-making process is personal, and that's different. The way that I make the decisions
what
is
makes
very
your
different.
style.
Yeah. So.
To get a glimpse of live professional artists mid-performance is invaluable. You guys are the nicest people ever.
Oh, well, thank you. It's nice of people to come by and hang out with us.
I know. It is.
So
It's very nice that people come by.
So I sort of.
Someone said it depends on the girls.
Oh, well, yeah.
He's got his one. That's all he needs.
Well, yeah. Actually, the very first thing Vicky ever said to me was, at a convention. Why aren't there any prices on
You
this?
know, this is before I actually met you.
And that was before we really met each
We
other.
like to say that determined the whole rest of our relationship.
So she is literally the one who prices my work and pretty much has, because
I like to ask him what price he'd like for it.
and then she disregards what I say. And
No,
puts,
I take it into consideration.
Sometimes,
I never
sometimes.
disregard.
That's true. You don't totally disregard, I guess.
Not completely.
Not in a way that I can point to.
Do you know Lee Jeffries? Do you know Lee Jeffries?
The name sounds familiar. Lee Jeffries.
Ugly Face Art says, I don't like the inborn talent ideology because it's dismissive of the actual work that artists put into their craft.
I agree with you on that. And also the thing that I want to point out too is that sometimes people will struggle with something for decades and then it'll just click. And you don't get to be the one who tells them that they don't have talent because you don't know where they're at, what stage of life they're at.
Right.
And you don't know when it's going to click for them. So you might as
Right.
well approach everyone as if they have the ability to find whatever this is in themselves, It may not conform to what you think it should be, or I'm not speaking directly to in the general
Right.
view. It may not conform to what people think it should be,
Right.
but it might be the specific thing they need, at the
Right,
time.
exactly.
So,
Everybody's art is different.
this is true. And that's another reason why you have to be very, very careful when you take business advice too.
Yes.
Because there's stuff that will work for one artist that you can do the exact same thing for you and it won't work the same way because we have different things we're doing.
Right. Jake says, I've always told people that they would be good at drawing if they did it as much as I did.
This
Or
is yeah.
probably better than me.
Well, yeah. The thing is that I do things a lot of times the hard way, because I don't know. I enjoy it. It's the way that I like to do
He
it.
does. Sometimes he does it so much and he tells me, this is going to be harder, but I want to do it this way. And
Yeah.
I have lived with you long enough to go, okay.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I relate this a lot. I've done this before. I related to martial arts, but there was a Shotokan guy named Kanazawa, and there was a story about him that said, everybody wants to have form like Kanazawa, but nobody wants to work like Kanazawa.
That's right.
Nobody wants to work as hard as he does.
So how much did you practice? There you go.
Yeah.
I think that's a frequent conversation with our children.
Right.
I can't do this. How long have you been doing it?
So one of the things I like to say is that the idea of having a specific set time is kind of a limitation. If you're going to do something like this for a living, you should, probably you want to get used to having it be just a part of your life, not just something you do, but something that is just, it's like eating lunch and dinner is part of your life. Like Gurney does it, I don't
He goes
think
out and he stops in the middle of the street. And
he could be getting his
goes.
tire changed, and he'll do
No,
a gouache
you
painting
see,
of the guy changing his tire.
I know, it's crazy. And you know what? I wanted to say there's some people typing in different languages, and I can't stop and translate and everything. So if you can put it in English, that would be good because I am limited in the
Or
only
if somebody can help with translating it.
Right,
that's,
exactly. Whether it's Spanish or
We just don't want
kanji or something.
don't want you to get the idea that we don't want to understand you. We do.
We're just
I'm just not.
single. Yes.
I don't have many languages.
Any.
I got
English, sorry.
half of English. Actually, I'm pretty good with English because I still look up words all the time though.
Oh yes.
I like to look up the origins of words.
Casey Snipes said it.
Huh?
Ronnie Coleman, the bodybuilder, said the same thing. Everybody wants to be a bodybuilder, but nobody wants to lift the heavyweights.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and there's the wisdom of finding the truth in a cliche, which is kind of what some things are like that, is where they're
But
contextually
that's
true.
the reason
and this
that
is
people
true.
are
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
I mean, to be a surgeon, you have to go to school for how many years?
yeah.
So you can work on people's
People got very
brains.
focused on the 10,000 hours rule, but
Oh.
what they forget about that whole thing is that's the beginning level. That's like getting to black belt, which means you've just learned enough to start
Started.
learning.
We've only got like 10 more minutes left.
So
You get talking.
how horrible would it be if you could only work for that 10,000 hours or only learn for those 10,000 hours? To be honest, that wouldn't be
Because
very.
it's not really a lot of time.
No.
I always want to learn new stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so our website is at AllenWilliamsStudio.com. I'm pulling together a list and getting more things up on it this week because I got some originals that can go and some prints. And then these will go up here under the stories for 24 hours, and then they'll go up on our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/AllenWilliams. And then they'll go up on YouTube in a week or two, which is at Allen Williams Studio. We have a Facebook page. You can come hang out with us there, or you can follow you if you want to on Facebook.
And I'm going to keep saying this until we start doing it. We also have a Twitch channel that we haven't started, we haven't created the habit for yet, but we will.
Yeah, people from Japan and India are watching. It's like,
oh, that's cool.
Tomorrow.
Is it? That's
It
awesome.
is. Well, London is 6 hours ahead of us, so it's like the middle of the night. 6-7 hours ahead of us. So when we have people from Pakistan, it's like 3 in the morning. That's crazy.
They're just, dedicated to watching, which is, I find honoring. That's
I know. It's very nice. You guys have fun. I like the different questions too.
yeah. Yeah, and
That
people,
way I don't have to
somebody,
talk to you all the time.
yeah. Somebody
just
asked,
kidding.
I think the last time that we were on, if it bothers us answering some of the same questions over and over again, and it really doesn't, because it helps me refine the way that I talk about it so that it becomes more clear. And it's just, when I talked before, I said something about there's a difference between practice and performance, but there's also practicing performance, which is another
Practicing how to
thing.
perform, right.
And being able to talk to people like this helps for the situations when I have done like seminars and workshops and things like that.
Right, right. Simply amazed at how fast you work, Clarence says.
So there is this part of it like this that can be fast, but I actually work faster when you guys are watching than I do when I'm working on my own. So what I'll end up doing is like I'll work probably if I work on this tonight, I'll slow down and start really doing the thing that they always tell you not to do. I'll start noodling the details right away.
Yeah.
And
I
I'll
like that head. Someone asked, you're keeping the light source in the back of your mind. Is that what's happening?
kind of, yeah. And if I'm doing something that I really want to play with the shape, I'll have like a top-down light source either from straight above or one of the angles that I'm pretty familiar with.
Right.
So that I can see the form, because I think like a lot of sculptors will work with a light from a certain level and so they can see the form as they sculpt, and I kind of feel like that I do the same thing. So if I wanted to, like, I could say that like there are parts of this that would be more obscured as it went along.
I thought the belly was going to be like a see-through, a hole there, but then
it's in graphite. If I'm going to make it something see-through, I can do that, and then I can draw through it and bring that out too.
I thought it was going to be like space, but then there would be no spine.
So
kind of reminds me of Stern.
Oh, because of the shape, because he
Just
had that big
giant
overweighted shoulders. Yeah. Stern from
See if anyone else is
from the original heavy metal animated
heavy metal. Oh, you know what I thought of the other day?
Huh?
I thought of the old rock and roll.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time.
That one went blue. I wonder why that one went blue.
Oh, that means the screensaver popped on. So
okay. Still recording.
It should be still recording.
How many people have seen the old rock and roll?
It's hard to actually find that. It's not anywhere you can stream.
No. It's very... Is that, what is the name of it?
Rock and roll.
I know, but the animator.
It wasn't Bakshi, was it?
Was it Bakshi?
I don't think it was Bakshi. It might have been. I don't know.
It was. Because Bakshi did the...
Wizards.
That shows our age.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, the hell are they talking about? How old are these people?
Old animated things. I was born in 1965. So I turned 53 in December.
You don't look 53.
I don't, well, I keep saying this. I don't feel it in my head. For good or bad, I don't feel old in my head.
That's good.
I still feel like I'm like in my 20s, although I try not to act like that. But because, I mean, the 20-year-olds nowadays have more sense than I did when I was 20, though.
Most of them.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's still a few.
Well, not if you watch the fail videos on YouTube.
I don't watch you guys like to watch the
I'm surprised that,
Who else watches the fail videos on YouTube?
My kid, Duncan, and he likes to watch that sometimes at night. And it's more of a cautionary thing, because he's like, okay, what can I get away with doing? And I'm like, don't do that. But Oh, and our kid Duncan, he just did his ACTs and got a 30, which was great.
I know, it's crazy. I'm getting no other comments, so maybe we got paused.
Oh,
That's all right.
well, sometimes if you guys can hear us or not, I don't know. Sometimes on our phone when we're recording this, the comments will freeze. And
Yeah.
I've been told that it's still going.
Yeah, it's
So,
fine.
huh?
It's fine.
So,
We got 5 more minutes or so.
so
That's really cool. I like
if you're asking questions right now and you can hear us, then you should know that we can't see any questions coming up right now because the screen froze.
yeah.
But we'll keep it going for about 10 more minutes.
I don't think so.
No?
I think it'll be about 5 or 6.
Okay.
Get the full hour in. What's going to happen there with the legs?
I'll at some point, I'll either drop them back into shadow or like this one might drop back into shadow. So here, look, my watch just told me it's time to do a torso twist. So I've been sitting still for too long. So,
Yeah, if you're doing digital art, your watch will tell you you're asleep if you don't watch
actually, it will. It registers me as being asleep.
because you sit for so long.
Yeah.
That's not good.
So I'm thinking of this in terms of this all receding into a shadowed background, basically.
Wings or no?
Possibly. Because like the Gaunts had like those leathern wings, kind of like bat wings, but so I might do something sinewy like that for these.
What do we have his arms there?
Huh?
Is that what their arms are?
Huh? I don't really know if he's going to have arms. I don't know what the deal is with me and torsos with no arms, but I've been like into this kick about drawing them lately. Just the physical twist of a body or just the form, the mid section.
Like you started shading their crotch at the beginning.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, that's because I wanted to establish some of the light source.
Oh, I see.
So, and the way you do that is by finding the shadows. So.